Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, Josh Sanch, your host here on the Bodybuilding News Network. Welcome back to another installment of Bodybuilding Daily, where we talk about all things hot topic and trending in the world of bodybuilding. Now, we're going to go through the entire lineup for the Italy Flex Weekend Pro, or whatever you want to call it. And we have a impressive lineup, a crazy amount of athletes compared to some of the shows we've seen earlier this year, but let's go ahead and get right into some of the athletes. Number one, the first gentleman is Khalid Al-Khazim. And you can see the front and double, and courtesy to Mark's Max Muscle for the photography here, or at least collecting the photography. I do want to give him credit, and also to Daniel over at Bodybuilders Without Borders for the scorecard. And for Ali Al-Khazim, you're going to see him probably with a beard. Lately, he's been wearing a beard and a beanie cap in his Instagram posts. Good physique. I'm not sure where he's going to land. You could probably see him. I know one of you commented, see him coming in here being a freak and placing well. I'm going to hold my judgment till the end. I'll give you, kind of like how Mark did it, I'll give you my top 8. But Khalid is coming into here, looks relatively conditioned from at least the last time we saw him. Next up is Jaleel Nasser El Zarqani from Iraq. Seems to be a guy, doesn't share too much social media content except this front double. Looks like from a show or maybe backstage. Good muscle, nice midsection, good flaring quads in the legs, decent biceps as well. Triceps not as developed as the biceps. Just something to notice. Not sure where we're going to see him as well. I'll hold my judgments till the end. We did use the Chicago footage for Blessing. He did self-diet himself, which I don't think is a justification or an excuse. It's more of an excuse of not showing up well. Or maybe it's just to create extra hype for his next show. I don't know. I didn't understand the strategy for him doing the Chicago looking the way he did. But this is Blessing Awodibu. Definitely a favorite to be in this lineup. And then next up we have Giovanni Aspettia from Italy. Looks like a new pro. Not the conditioning we're going to need from him at this show. So I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more conditioning from him. But a nice structure. Yeah, that's Giovanni Aspettia. Simone Bassinelli. I just saw his check-in photos a second ago. He looks phenomenal. Look for him at this show. He should be doing well. Looks like he put on a little bit more muscle than the last time we saw him. Here in the, could be the Amateur Italy Olympia. It could be a pro show here. Again, one of these guys looks a little younger. Needs a little bit more time under in the coals. A little time in the coals. Build the physique up just a little bit more, put a little bit more muscle on. Great legs, great quads, hamstrings from the back look phenomenal as well. So definitely a leg dominant gentleman, but he'll be doing this show, Mr. Simone Bassinelli. Andrea Bolzani is next. Another guy, expect to see him placing, fairly well. This is a very stacked lineup, so this guy could creep in the top 10 easily. Great conditioning from looks like the Big Man Weekend behind us. Could be the Portugal Pro as well. So they both use red. Nice midsection, nice and tight. The legs are not as developed as the upper body, and you can definitely see that from the back. The hamstring depth and width, the thickness of the hamstrings are, not as superior as the upper body. As well as you can see the gap between the legs. That's a posing error. He's going to want to make that correction. You want to make sure you don't have any gaps in your physique. Next up we have, that was Andrea Bolzani. Tim Bootyshine is the next gentleman. And if you look at that back right lat, you can see there's a little bit of a imbalance. And I never noticed that until on a recent episode of the Bodybuilding Breakdown on EP09's YouTube channel. Check that out. Myself, Marks Max Muscle, and EP09 did a talk show breaking down the lineup here, and that was one of our big takeaways here. And I will say that I think Tim's going to be a little limited with the blockiness of the midsection, as well as not a lot of detail in the midsection. He could be a top 10 gentleman. He could be a top 8 or even top 6. It really depends on how conditioned he comes into the Flex Weekend Pro. But that's Tim Bootyshine. Next up, we have Mikhail Siesla from Germany as well. And I actually really like this guy's physique. I bet you he could surprise us if he's put on any size from, looks like the Prague Pro in the background on the right. The left looks like maybe a Pro Debut or a Pro-Am, something like that. Classic physique, you usually get a lot of opportunities to compete on a variety of stages that typically you don't see in the open. And he looks like he's a bodybuilder. He looks like he's a bodybuilder through and through. But he does have some nice classic lines, little midsection. He could definitely grow in the league and continue to put on some muscle. Very impressive. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 10 gentleman. Mikhail Siesla. And of course, the prophecy, Nathan Asha from last year's Prague Pro, the Evils, EVLS. Never know what that means ever, but the Prague Pro. And he's gonna be one of your favorites. He's a top 2, I think, in my opinion. I've seen some physique updates from him. We'll do some more photos, some more updates, some more shorts. Seems you guys like the shorts. I enjoy them as well. We'll do a physique updates for everyone on the shorts shortly. We have all day to prepare for the pro show tomorrow, Sunday, if you're watching this when it goes live on Saturday. But we're not going to spend too much time on Nathan Asha. We will be doing a lot of individual videos for him. Next up, we have Roman Fritz, another German competitor, already qualified for the 2023 Mr. Olympia. And very impressive physique. I'd like to see a little bit more muscle in the back for him. He's got the width. Very wide guy. Just needs more muscle in the lower back. It kind of melts away. Looks kind of like Ian's back, except Ian had a little bit more thickness, a little bit more density. But Roman Fritz, expect him to be a top 6 competitor here, depending on how everyone else shows up. Roman Fritz is a gentleman known for conditioning, so don't expect him to slip on conditioning at all. Next up, we do have Regan Grimes, one of the few, or if only, the only U.S. competitor. The only U.S. competitor doing this show. And he is your favorite to win the show. It is Regan Grimes' show to lose. So keep an eye out for that. And for Regan, we talked about the biceps. I mean, look at the right bicep here. That last show we talked about. Not a lot going on in the arm department from the back. And even from the front, his right bicep, the one in question, not a lot of separation, ladies and gentlemen. And I have the exact same thing with my left. And I'm not comparing myself to Regan Grimes, but my left bicep has no peak because I did tear it. I didn't know I tore it, but it just happened. I tore my bicep. I tore this chest. I tore a hamstring. I mean, I've torn a bunch of stuff. And sometimes you're in so much pain from lifting, you don't notice you tear things. So I really do think Regan Grimes tore his right bicep at some time and has not talked about it. I don't know if he got it repaired, but there's not a lot of peak here. Not a lot of separation. I don't know if he's left-handed or right-hand dominant, but that right bicep is suspect, ladies and gentlemen. But he is your favorite to win the show. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Regan Grimes is my pick to win the show. We will talk about our top 8 at the end of the video, so stay tuned. Theo Lugariere from France. Very cool dude. Sent me a message on Instagram, and full transparency, I do like the guy. I would say the best looking guy coming on the stage here. Very good looking dude. Great muscle, reminds me, his physique, the flow reminds me of a modern Lee Labrada. I think that he could be someone to really add some more variety to the pro league. He just needs a little bit more muscle. And if you look at these Olympia pictures, he just needs to bring in the conditioning. Just bring more conditioning, more separation. I want to see more separation in the arms, in the chest. Just really perfect it. A lot of separation in the legs. You can see the quads as they start to separate and ripple towards the posing trunks. You can see some separation there, but once you get into that inner thigh, the adductor, that is not as conditioned. Also looks like he's missing a little oil there from the chafing walking around. I mean, there's only so many stuff you can control. But these are the things I noticed, and these are the things I want to share with you guys, because I know most of you are casual bodybuilding fans, and maybe you don't notice these things. This is my passion. This is what I do every day, is I look at physiques and I talk about bodybuilding. So I like to share it with you guys. Next up, that was Theo Lugariere from France. Next up is Mikhail Maslov from Russia. And I really like this guy's physique. The legs need to come up in the front, but the back, hamstrings look great. So very interesting. I've never seen a hamstring dominant bodybuilder with leg and quads from the front. Very interesting. Great vacuum, great midsection. Serratus interiors are phenomenally detailed coming into the lats. The chest looks like it could use some more size. It also could be a posing thing. It looks like he's really rotating forward to emphasize the delts, which I think is more of an amateur move. That's how I used to pose way back when, in the bathroom mirror. So could be a posing correction for him, but depending on how big his legs are, I could see him placing well here. From Russia, Mikhail Maslov. Next up, we have one of my favorite bodybuilders from the front, at least when we talk about European competitors, Andrea Muzi. Not Andrea Presti, Andrea Muzi. Presti has kind of already, he started to separate himself from Muzi, being a little bit more competitive, winning more shows, or winning shows in general. Andrea Muzi, great physique, very awesome Instagram bodybuilder, no disrespect. The conditioning just doesn't seem to peak perfectly when he does these shows. That's what I want to see. He has one of the best front lat spreads in bodybuilding, so look for that on the stage tomorrow. We will figure out the exact time. I'll put it out on my shorts of the schedule for tomorrow, so we make sure we don't miss anything, and I'll be covering it not live, but as live as I can be without copyright issues. So Andrea Muzi doing the show, probably a top 10 competitor. Artem Pochniuk from Germany, a lot of German fellas. This guy looks very conditioned. I would say the best stage photos we've seen so far, but he'll need some size to compete with the lineup here. Depending on when these European Championship photos were done, it looks like the last year, so 2022's European Championships, as the 2023 is in 2 weeks, I do believe, coming up here. Barcelona, Spain typically is where that one's hosted. This guy's good. Just needs more size. Great conditioning. Next up, we have a guy, I know, AJ from World of Bodybuilding. Shout out AJ. He does the female bodybuilding channel, and he's now on Fuad's media platform. So very cool for him. Very proud of his accomplishments and what he's been able to do with his career. Good for him. Proud of you, dude. So he had Mr. Dennis Reinhold on his show. And he looks big, Dennis Reinhold, the Rhino, I think would be a cool nickname for him. Big. He reminds me of, there's this guy out of Gold's Venice. Kind of looks like him, the same build. I've actually had him on the channel before. I feel bad. I can't think of him. He did the Texas. Oh, maybe a top 10 guy. Anywho. Looks like him. He's got a lot of brute strength. He looks very blocky, but in a good way. The midsection's tight, controlled. Kind of got like a Roman Fritz midsection. Very similar to Roman Fritz, I'd say, but a little bit better legs. So this guy could surprise us. He could sneak in there. He could place well. One of my favorites, one of the guys I enjoy, of course, Bruno Oliveira Santos from Brazil is a scratch. He had some intestinal infection, and he's hospitalized currently. So if you do prayers, send your prayers his way. If not, send him a nice message on Instagram. Who knows which one is more effective at helping people in our current world. But Thomas Tabasiar, I forgot he was a 212, but he's going to bring a lot of conditioning to this show. His most recent physique updates, his back looked phenomenal, and I'm interested to see how impressive that back is going to be coming into the show. It could be very impressive. It could be a situation here, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how he's going to show up for this show. And we are getting quite long on this one. I do want to finish it up here. Jan Turek, another guy I do enjoy very much. Very conditioned. Is going to need just a little bit more size or continue to bring more size year in and year out. He is slowly improving. Looking forward to seeing how he's going to do. Liang Yan from China is definitely going to be the dark horse pick here. Pro debut at the Romania last year. He placed 4th. And you could expect him to place 3rd or 4th in this lineup as well. But this lineup is very competitive. So look for that. I really do think he could really show some people what's up with this physique. He could even place higher. It really depends on what the judges are looking for. And last but certainly not least, before we get into my predictions, ladies and gentlemen, is Gusheng Yan. Or Wan, right? Wan. Y-U-A-N. Wan. Smaller guy from, I believe it was the 2019 Japan Pro. And just going to need a lot more size. Just need to fill the physique out more. He looks like he might have over-dieted, or he's just a new pro. And that's all right. That's fine with me, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's go ahead and get into my top 8 predictions. I'm going to say in the, let's say the 1 through 4, I'm going to have Nathan D'Asha, Regan Grimes, Liang Yang. I think that's going to be probably your top 3. And Blessing Awodibu, I think, is also going to be in there. That's going to be your top 4. I think most of those could switch out. I think it's going to be a Regan versus Nathan, and it's going to be a Blessing versus Liang Yan. Very 2 different physiques, but I think that's how that's going to line up. In your 4 through 8, I'm going to put Tim Bootyshine. I think he's going to be in there. I think I'm going to put Theo as well. Theo Leguerrier. And Andrea Muzi. And who else would be in that top 8? I did like the Simone Bassinelli. But I do like Thomas Tabasiar. I just don't know if he's going to have enough size to really roll with these guys. But then also Dennis Reinhold looked good too. Oh, and I think I actually forgot Roman Fritz. So let's put Roman Fritz in there for your top 8 as well. So 4 through 8 is going to be Tim Bootyshine, Roman Fritz, Theo Leguerrier, and Andrea Muzi. That's going to be my 4 through 8. Those are my predictions. Please, genuinely, please let me know your predictions down below. I'd love to see where you guys are at, and I'll make sure I write mine down so we can see if I was right or wrong at the end of the day. Look forward to more coverage of the Italy Pro, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Josh Sanch, as always, and I'll see you in the next one.